Welcome to The Fully Mindful, where we explore what it means to live with intention, creativity, authenticity, and connection. I'm your host, Melissa Chareau, mindfulness and breathwork facilitator, neurodivergent lawyer and coach, and fellow human navigating this wild and beautiful ride we call life. On this podcast, we dive deep with interviews featuring inspiring guests, share solo mini episodes packed with guided mindfulness practices to help you center and thrive, and mix things up with tangents and sidebars, where my friend and fellow podcaster Debbie Harrell from the New World Normal joins me for some real, random, and meaningful conversations. So if you're ready to pause, reflect, and expand, you're in the right place. Let's get fully mindful. Hey everybody, this is Melissa with The Fully Mindful. I'm really excited. This is the first episode I actually get to talk to another human being and talk about how they uncover and understand their own worth and discovered meaning and purpose in their life. So exciting. I get to talk with Monica Fuchs, a longtime friend and inspiration of a person really I think you'll find, because she's a human among humans who, over time and with a lot of self-reflection and work and life experience, she discovered a mission in life. Not only was this mission to serve her family as a mother of four, a full-time employed human, a neurodivergent, super cool, differently wired person, but she also felt driven and compelled to unmask her privilege, get honest about it, and volunteer for an amazing local organization here in Portland, Oregon, Brown Hope. It's a grassroots organization, a movement, I think they call themselves, really, to build interdependence, work with neighbors of all backgrounds, and inspire racial justice and healing in the communities that need it the most. I think you'll find this a fun and engaging and moving exploration of the life of a human among human doing good human things. Just a quick note, a couple of tech issues at minutes 5 and 10, but we stream it together and don't think you'll miss a thing. Thanks again, all. Catch you on the other side. Hey everyone, we're here with Monica, and her last name I just had to get a tutorial on, but it's Monica Fuchs. Fuchs, if I've got that right. And maybe, Monica, why don't you start off by telling us how you ended up with that amazing last name?
Well, it's my third last name. It's my maiden name is Mulick, and then I was married the first time, and that was Fours, and this one is Fuchs. And when I met my husband, I met him online on Facebook. And I saw his last name, and it looks like my favorite word, which is fuck. And I said, yeah, I'll go out with you. So that's then I married him and took his name.
And that's the rest of the story.
And that's how it became.
And that is pretty cool. You've done a lot of stuff online, and I should tell our audience that Monica and I are longtime friends. I don't know how long we've known each other, maybe
17 years, probably.
17 years,
yeah.
A really freaking long time,
yeah.
Which is all of which is awesome. And I guess I wanted to talk with you as one of the first guest on this podcast, because I have always been a fan of yours, as a friend, but also because, of what you're currently doing, which is a lot of work on social justice issues, which I think is really impressive, because I don't think, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, that's not your background.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So how did you, and what are you doing, and how did you get to this point where this was important to you?
I've always had a sense of justice and, just in general. And, it might be the Leo in me, but I've always had a sense for it, kind of a deep sense. My my mom has told me about when I was a kid and reading the Goldilocks and the Three Bears story. And apparently I went through the porridge bowls and colored all of them in so everybody had food. So this is like when I was little, this was happening. So so that's kind of just part of just innately who I am. And the work that I've been doing lately, I'm involved with an organization in Portland called Brown Hope, and more specifically the Solidarity Squad, which is the mutual aid team. And it's a Black-led movement. I'm a white woman, and they recently expanded their services within the last year to all racial and ethnic identities. They they say they choose to. We say we choose to lead with love,
Mm-hmm.
and so nobody is turned away. It is a Black-led movement, and I found out about it on Facebook, which is so much of my life in the last 6 years, or since I met my husband, right, my current husband, has been done on social media, and so during the pandemic, there was plenty of time to spend on social media, and I was on it. And then the George Floyd murder happened, and the Black Resilience Fund was born out of that event and the protests in Portland. And so Cameron Whitten is the one of the co-founders of the Black Resilience Fund, which is a subset of Brown Hope now. And that was just a way to get financial aid directly to Black Portlanders who needed it, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of harm and a lot of healing to be done in that community. And so it resonated with me when I saw it, when it came across my Facebook feed. Part of what they started doing was food box deliveries. Mm-hmm. And so, being in a pandemic, right? Like, and that, before the vaccines were available, that was one way that we could like no contact help people. Right. So we would go and we would pick up the food boxes, get a route, and then my family and I would drive around and deliver these food boxes. So, and then that just kind of naturally evolved with schedules changing and life happening into this mutual aid team, which I'm pretty heavily involved in. And we bring mutual aid to Portland metro area residents, mm-hmm. Largely the Black community. And we operate a free store out. There's the location is a warehouse in Northeast Portland, pretty close to downtown. And we hygiene items, like diapers and wipes and.
Okay, we had a little technical difficulty here, and that's totally my fault because this is, the inaugural podcast with an actual human being. And so here again, and we were talking about Brown Hope and talking about all kinds of cool stuff that Monica is doing with that organization. And we were so rudely cut off by technology. Not sure if that's you, Mark Zuckerberg, but I wouldn't be surprised. No, seriously, we're on Anchor, so I don't think that's the problem. But where we were leaving off was Monica was telling a story, and I thought it was a really interesting one about a particular event where you were dropping off some food, and mm-hmm. It was during the pandemic, and so you were texting with the person who you were supposed to be dropping the food off mm-hmm. for, and he was very kind of abrupt and like, mm-hmm. I don't need that. And you were talking about well, we'll just call it what it is. A little bit of white fragility there.
A lot of it.
Okay. So, what happened for you?
Yeah, I had, I mean, my first reaction was like, I'm bringing something, like, be nice to me. Right. And I had an opportunity and I can probably definitely attribute this to my experience in recovery and, having been, practicing for a long time, the pause. And, so I had a moment where, like I take offense, whatever I did to it. I had this reaction, and then I just had this internal pause, and I looked at these words and on my phone, and I saw a cry for help, mm-hmm. Whether or not that was an overt one on his part. I saw someone who was willing to be honest, right? Like, mm-hmm. like, I don't need that. This is what I need. Like, right. he was like, I don't need food. I need toilet paper. And I'm like, okay, pause. And like, well, what's that about? Right. So I just, I said, well, like, hey, can my husband and I help? You know, I can't do something on behalf of the organization without checking with them. All the volunteers are out doing stuff. I'm not gonna solve all of that on behalf of the organization necessarily right now. But what I can do is my husband and I are able to pick up some toilet paper. Like, we can do that, right? So I offered that, and he, you know, he said, man, you know what, that would actually be awesome. And it, you know, come to find out that, you know, he had the card, the food stamps, and you can't buy hygiene items with that. So he was like, I have food, I can't get toilet paper. And it was, you know, I mean, that's
crazy. So right? On food stamps, you can't buy toiletries, but even though you probably very much need them as a human being.
Right. He ended up telling me later that he was going to restaurants and getting napkins and bringing them home. Wow. Fast food restaurants, right? Just go in and grab them. And it's like, you know, this is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Like, this is ridiculous that there are people in our community who would probably never ever share that. And so, you know, and this is all over text. And the truth is, I've never met him. Mm-hmm. Because I asked him, I said, do you want me to knock and, you know, or do you want me to just leave it at your doorstep? And he said, I'd love it if you left it at my doorstep. And I said, no problem. And so, you know, that was almost a year ago. And every couple of months, I send him a text message to check in on him. Yeah. And my husband and I will get a big order, and we get, you know, toilet paper and paper towels and soap and whatever is on his list, laundry detergent. And we just leave it at his doorstep. And, you know, come to find out that he also watches a young family member for, I don't know how often, but enough that, you know, he'll occasionally ask for me to include pull-ups in there. And it's like, yeah, of course, you know, because he's like, you know, the mom doesn't always bring them with the kid. And again, this is a situation where people are being forced to choose, right? Mm-hmm. between necessities. Like, they're all necessities, and we shouldn't have to choose. And so it's just given me, man, it's an honor, you know, to be able to have enough insight to change my perspective and be part of the solution. Right. If all I'm doing is buying toilet paper and dropping it at someone's door, you know, it's only been a couple times.
Let's take a quick break.
Hey everybody, this is Melissa with the Fully Mindful. It's the new year, and I bet you're feeling the need to unlock your full potential and embrace empowerment, or maybe something completely different. Well, I'm excited to offer a new program with one-on-one breathwork and coaching sessions. We'll embark on a truly transformative journey of self-discovery, combining conscious, connected breathwork and embodiment coaching, and more. So contact me, Melissa, at The Fully Mindful, for your transformative session today. Okay, so yeah, you were saying that there have only been a couple times in your life where, you know, you couldn't afford something that you thought was essential, and in retrospect, it wasn't really essential at all. So here you are, you know, faced with at least this one person, and of course many others that you're helping through this organization, for people who, like you said, are making a choice between, you know, rent and toilet paper and toiletries. And I remember there was one time you kind of fairly recently, maybe a couple months ago, did a specific drive for women, and specifically around feminine products. Yep, and tell us about that. How did you get to that? Was that you know, something that came out of the organization? Was that your thing? Like, how did that come about?
Combination. So we do drives almost every month. And this was the end of 2021. We were coming up on a holiday drive with toys and coats and blankets. And Onisha, our leader at the Solidarity Squad, had said, you know, hey, if anyone wants to do their own individual drives, right, feel free. You know, here's the main one we're doing, right? We're doing this one for toys because we're going to have a Christmas event for the families that we serve. And someone else was doing blankets, and another person was doing coats, and my brain was like, challenge accepted. And I just like instantly tampons just jumped into my mind because there's so many. That is there's another organization that I'm not directly involved with. I've been to one event of theirs called Period, and it's and they're fighting period poverty, and it is a real thing that people don't talk about. There's so much of this, like, who wants to tell the world that like you can't afford toilet paper? Who wants to tell the world that like you can't afford a tampon or a pad or whatever, right? And then
there's shame associated. There shouldn't be, but there is.
But there is, right? And so then there's shame, and then there's all of these cycles of harm and trauma. Just like, it seems to me, can really just get heavier and heavier, just weighed down more and more with this type of thing, right? Because then there's things that we're not talking about because we're ashamed of them, and we still need help with them.
Right.
So tampons, right? Like, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. And I took to social media, as I do with so much. And, and I just decided to do a feminine hygiene drive. And oh my God, I think it was I created my own Amazon wish list, and friends ordered off of it, and then went to the stores. I kept an eye on all of the sales and extreme couponing people that were posting things for sale on Facebook, and we ended up dropping off, over 100 boxes of tampons, almost 100 packages of pads and liners and everything. And and it's really cool for me. I've got my bonus kid is out of the house. He's 21, but he he's working, so he sent me $100 to go buy tampons. Wow. And then I've got a 12-year-old son, a 10-year-old daughter, and a 3-year-old daughter. And so every time an Amazon box showed up, I have these, these two older kids and this younger one yelling, "Tampons are here!" And it also gave us, a really natural segue into having conversations about like what that is and why it's not shameful. And it's just a tool, like, this is part of life. And so I stocked them all up, and I took pictures and posted them to get people excited and interested, and ended up dropping all of that off, and it was amazing, and I think that they were gone within a month or two.
Wow. So maybe it's time for another one.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, and I remember that it was a family affair for you. And it seems like everything that you've done around Brown Hope has been a family affair. You have your little helpers, and your husband has been amazingly helpful and has been a part of this as well, right? Yeah. He's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and for him too, Mark, my husband, he I think that we each bring our own experiences into these things, and he was a single dad for a long time, and before right as he got sober, he's in recovery too. He was in some really dire straight circumstances, and he knows way better than I do what he can relate to this guy that we bring the hygiene and household items to. He knows, like, my husband has lived that. Yeah. And so he knows when I say, hey, we're doing this again, and like, here we go, let's go. And he's like, what does he need this time? And he's like, he knows where to go and what to do to maximize the money. And and it's just, it's wonderful, and it's amazing to have people who relate and care and want to help, and that, and they're my family, they're my people. So.
Right. And I mean, it does sound like, you've always had that I pull towards social justice. You talked about, coloring in the porridge drawings, and I love that. But that's not necessarily where you come from. Like, you you have a job and a family, and none of which is related to social justice in the sense of, of course your family is, but like it's not like that's not why you went to school. I mean, it's not, it's just something that happened, and like you said, this period of it has been born out of the horrific events in 2020, what I find impressive is that you've continued to do it. It wasn't just like, oh, in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is something, this is part of basically your everyday life.
Yeah. It is absolutely. So yes, I have someone in my life who says, and she's a white woman, and she says, yeah, you know what, like black people get killed and white people put up yard signs.
Yeah.
And she said that, and in 2020, and it just hit me. It was so true. I work at a large corporation, and it's gotten really into vogue to be like having these forward conversations and difficult conversations and all of this stuff. But again, it's more of the same people talking to each other and not a whole lot of action.
Yeah, we were watching, Jon Stewart has a show now where, I can't remember the name of it offhand, but, he was talking with some folks about this issue, and, kind of saying like, we do this to make ourselves feel better, but we don't actually do anything.
Yeah.
And there's a real difference from, like you said, the people sort of were, I think the way he put it was, we're listening.
Yeah.
And his whole point was, well, black people have been telling us for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And so it is not a matter of listening, and it puts the onus on the very people who are being oppressed.
Yeah.
To tell us.
Right.
What we need to do differently.
And then we choose when we want to listen.
Right.
And then we show up and we do these really dramatic things, and then we leave.
Right.
And so I've had a couple, life experiences. Like my mom had, and this, right? My mom's car accident 10 years ago.
Well, she almost died.
Yes.
Like, about as close as you could get.
Right. It was this huge catastrophic event, and, all of these people showed up and poured out this love and brought us food at the hospital and did all of these things. And we were warned, like a friendly warning by people at the hospital that this is wonderful. Please let some people know, that they can slow down right now. You're going to need help in the long run, right? Yeah. And what happened, and this is natural. This is not, it's okay. This is what happens. People drop off.
Yeah.
They stop checking in. They stop bringing things. They stop, they just assume everything's fine, right? The big event is over. My mom, 10 years later, is still... She's had her abdomen reconstructed a couple times. She has a device implanted for the pain management. And if the battery died and she was in chronic, excruciating pain, like the effects have not gone away. Right.
Right.
And then there's the mental effects and the emotional effects of dealing with this over the long term. So when you look at it from a perspective of what our Black community goes through, it's like, oh my gosh, some catastrophic event happens. And then everyone shows up and is like, oh my God, Black Lives Matter, we love you, community, love
and all
wins.
that is great.
Of course it is. But yeah. But the trauma hasn't ended. The need for help and assistance has not ended, right? It's just more of like, kind of, I don't know, like dangling a carrot, like, hey, we're here to help. Oh, okay. Yeah, I got my life to live. And like as a white woman who grew up with a lot of privilege, and I didn't have financial worries. I just didn't have any roadblocks.
Yeah.
I never had them, and so I even remember something just horribly embarrassing in retrospect that I did in college in a class, talking about this very thing and trying to claim that like I had experienced racism, like in another country because I have blonde hair and blue eyes and they didn't. Like, oh my God,
wow.
You can cut that part out. Like,
yeah,
like,
no.
You know what? But
I mean,
I'm okay saying that. You know what? Like that is the
we
extent
have to
of the
own
ridiculousness.
It.
Yeah. And I remember at that time, like I remember even like mentally placing myself above them, like, see, me too, like
yeah.
and oh my God, stop, like I'm grateful for having the perspective and the experience to be able to turn around and be like, okay, I'm so grateful that that's not me anymore. And
Right.
that, you know, and I went through that. So even when I hear like all lives matter and all that kind of stuff, I get it. I get it. And there's really an opportunity to, you know, genuinely step in and help out just by being quiet and taking action, you know, which is like crazy, right? Because I'm on a podcast talking, right? Like here's talking, you know, but the truth is that, that we're in the middle of another drive. I have, a bunch of stuff at my house, stacked up right now that I need to drop off at the warehouse for the drive that we're doing right now for new apartment kits. You know, people are upset about Portland's, you know, houseless community and the garbage and graffiti. And I get it. It doesn't look good. Like not a good look. And, you know, there's people that are moving into new homes that don't have paper towels or hand soap or, you know, the basics when you move into a new place and you're like, okay, this is just what I need for right now to get started.
Right.
Man, they're just getting shelter. And so we're putting together, you know, new apartment kits, laundry basket, filling it with just, you know, basics to get people started. And
how many people are you hoping to be able to serve with this drive?
Man, really hoping for 50. You know, but the truth is that, and this goes along with that, what we were just talking about with the waning support. You know, we do a drive every month, and people have gotten busy with their lives. The world has opened up. People are vacationing and, you know, going and doing things and spending money. And, you know, and I get it. Like, I get it. There's still a need, and the support has dropped off.
Yeah.
So I think that we'll be lucky to, you know, put together a full pack for maybe 15 to 20. You know, the need is much greater, and we were aiming for 50. And, you know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think I hate to say it is what it is, but it is. And I think it can be different, you know, and that's why I keep doing this and keep posting about it. And I never want to shame anyone for not getting involved or for helping with one drive but not the other, because I do know what it's like to be able to pitch in one time and then another time it's like, ugh, it's a little tight, you know. But I've just found for myself that I need to keep pushing because I've spent my entire life up until now being able to choose, you know, among necessities, and then being like, just going to take them all. I can do all these things, you know. And the things that I've realized that the things that I deem as necessities, you know, really, really aren't.
Yeah, and I mean, I wonder if maybe part of your, I don't know how to say it, but your continued dedication has a lot to do with your recovery. And I'm just thinking out loud here, but, you know, in recovery from any sort of addictive behavior, you know, we learn that the addictive behavior doesn't go away. It's just a daily reprieve, right? And in a way, all of this just horrific world events and racism, I mean, this is very much like a cancer of some sort. And, you know, the only reprieve, if there is one at all, any salve is really just, you know, it's just a salve, right? It's not fixing the problem, but at least it's like you said, taking action on a daily basis. And in recovery, we learn, right, that we have to take action on a daily basis, or that daily reprieve that we had goes away really quickly.
Yeah.
And so it sort of reminds me of that in that kind of a way. And you mentioned also that in recovery, you learned how to pause. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So, man, where do I start, right? Like, let me pause.
Go ahead, plunge into the deep end. Do it.
I've had so many, you know, I've met so many people and had so many interactions over the years. You know, my first one is a woman that I used to call early in recovery when I was freaking out about God knows what, right? And she would be like, okay, just hang on a second here. And, you know, and then she would literally be like, breathe with me. And she would take a breath and she'd be like, in and out, you know, and like, I wanted her feedback. So I kept calling her and she kept doing that, you know? And so it became a habit. So there was that. And then there's, you know, lots of talk about it kind of around the recovery circles that, you know, pause when agitated or doubtful, and, you know, different phrases and things that have just kind of stuck in my mind. But then I also have, you know, I have someone in my life that I call regularly that I work with on my recovery, and she tells me all the time, you know, we don't need to decide that right now. Let's give it 24 hours. And so there's short, immediate pauses with breath. And then there's also these longer pauses where, like, especially when I was going through my divorce from my first husband, right? And all of this, you know, all of the ugly things that come with that. And I would be like, he did this and I'm going to send that, and da-da-da. And she'd be like, 24 hours. You got 24 hours. If you still want to send that text, great. Let's wait for 24 hours, you know? And then I've had to use it with shopping. You know, it's so easy online to just click and buy and get a dopamine hit. But, you know, the truth is that stuff shows up, and then the bills show up, and then and it feels worse than that moment of satisfaction, that gratification of that instant gratification of sending the text or clicking buy or whatever. And so that pause, you know, has really, you know, the longer term pause of 24 hours. Sometimes she advises 48 or 72, depending on how heated I am.
Really nutty the idea sounds.
Yeah.
And I like how she leaves it up to you. It's still your choice, as it always is, right? It's always our choice.
Right.
But that pause, you know, like you said, whether it's with the breath in the moment or, you know, a series of breaths for 24 hours or 48 or 72. And that's kind of what gets us. And I love that, because it's the, you know, agitated or doubtful. I think that always, it's kind of a nice way to put it, because that's certainly not the way that I feel when those things are happening. Agitated is a serious understatement.
So, hurricane.
Yeah.
My mind gets hurricane-ish.
Right. And so it's no small feat. And this is certainly not limited to anyone in recovery from anything. I mean, this is just the human experience, right? Of, we have these just tremendous feelings of, you know, I must do this. And that's kind of when I know I'm in the, you know, in a space. If I feel like I call them the I gotta do's. Ooh, that's a sign from the universe to take a pause. If I feel, and I don't know about you, but I'll feel it in my body. Like, I'll feel this rise from my belly into my chest, and like my head is going to, and shoulders are going to explode. And it's the, I'm going to tell, or I'm going to do, or I'm gonna. And those are the moments, right?
Yeah.
And I love how you draw upon other resources, right? Yes, you have the breath, and then you have this person that you call. And I bet you have other people too.
Yeah.
And so, and how does your family participate in that? Or how have you invited your family into that, the world that you're living in, where, you know, you pause when agitated or doubtful, you take 24, 48 hours, and yet you're still living your life. You didn't go 24 hours up on some mountaintop to go meditate. I mean, that'd be nice, but you don't have that luxury, I'm assuming.
No.
So how does that work with the family, right? Because, you know, here you're having all of these like big things that we as humans experience. So how do you talk with your family about that, or how do you invite them into that process with you?
Yeah, it depends on the situation, you know. I mean, and first of all, let me say, if I tried to go to a mountaintop, I would literally have like 3 kids hanging on me, another one texting me memes, and my husband probably like trying to hide and get 5 minutes to himself, because the kids are all with me. So life isn't set up that way for us, as it's not with so many people. And it depends on the situation, but sometimes I will just tell them, you know, like, I'm really honest with them. They know most things, as long as it's age appropriate and it's not going to traumatize them, you know, but they know that if something's going on, you know, they can ask me, I'll be crying or whatever, and I'll just be like, I need a minute, you know. I need a minute to go check in with a friend. I need a minute to go breathe. I've like, gosh, even, my son, man, he was arguing with his dad when they were on a road trip recently, and he texted me and he was really upset, and I couldn't do much, I mean, they're in the car, and anyway, I sent him a link to a meditation. A 12-year-old boy, I sent him a link to a meditation, and he listened to it, and then he thanked me later. Like, what? You know? But we do that. We have, books around the house, kids' books on mindfulness and yoga, and, and sometimes I'll just tell them, like, hey, like, let's just take a breath, like the 3-year-old, she'll actually say, I shit you not. Okay, pause, breathe. And it's like, where did you even get that? But her dad and I both do it, and so it's, it has had to just become a part of how we do things.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that, that it happens every time. And when we, inevitably explode and like, to the kids, and we'd say things that we didn't mean to say, or use a tone that we didn't mean to use, or
because it turns out you're
didn't
human.
Want to.
Yeah.
Turns out we're human, right?
Yeah.
Super duper human. Then we go back and we make it right every single time. And it is not like sorry, because, my 10-year-old daughter said this recently. Don't say sorry if you don't change the behavior. Like, and so we just like, hey, that wasn't right. I don't want to be like that. How can we do some things differently going forward, right? If it's something that keeps coming up, then like, let's try and work on a solution. Or if it was like a one-time thing, like, hey, you know what? I think that I need a little bit of a break right now.
Right. It's that action piece. And I love how your 10-year-old called you out on that a little bit. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you can talk all you want. Your words can be beautiful. Right. But unless something changes, unless you take some action, and that's the piece that I think is so important, when we talk about mindfulness. Mindfulness, it's not just sitting on some cushion.
Oh dear God, no.
Right?
Yeah.
It's being aware in the present moment. And that means in life, right? Not just sitting on the cushion.
Yeah.
And it also means taking action. A lot of, and it's wonderful, there are a lot of mindfulness organizations and spiritual practices that have really pivoted toward social justice, because that's part of it. And I think that's, so whether it's on a personal level, as a human being, taking action, being mindful, being aware, or it's when we take ourselves out into the world, like you have with Brown Hope. And the one thing that I also want to put out there is that the wonderful thing about doing what you're doing is not only does it help other people who really, really need it, and it is the right thing to do. It is the least we can do. It also provides fulfillment for you on a personal level, right? And so tell me how does it, like, all the things that you're doing, whether it's the modeling the mindfulness and the responsibility in your personal life, whether it's, going out there on a daily basis, doing things for Brown Hope, how is that fulfilling to you?
Man, I mean, talk about purpose, right? Like, that's, I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but like, I constantly have these existential crises. Why am I here? What does it all mean? Like, all of that stuff. And the answers become less important when I do this stuff, which makes it easier for me to exist, because I don't know the answer, right? Like, I don't know. I don't believe in a certain thing where, I do this and I get this as a reward at the end. That's not in my belief system. And so what that means is that I wander around a lot in my mind with questions and anxiety and yearning to belong. And I end up getting focused on myself a lot. And then I get into fear, because what if I'm wasting my time? What if I'm not doing the right thing? What if? And so when I just start doing these things and helping other people, it just feels good. Yeah. Like, it just does, and it sets my mind at ease. And, don't get me wrong. Like, I take SSRIs. I have things in my body and my brain specifically that make it difficult for me to just exist, to just exist without taking them. A good friend of ours actually has this line that I wish I need a shirt. I'm coming for me and I'm going to get me.
Yeah.
That's what my mind, that's the natural setting of my mind. And so there's recovery, there's, mindfulness, there's, this service. It's service work. It's just being of service to the world. And it makes it okay for me to exist.
And that's sort of the beautiful kind of axiom, right? Is we give and we get so much more.
Yeah.
In return. And I think that's easy to miss. We get busy in our lives and there's no judgment there. I mean, life is freaking busy, right? And life is life and it's hard and there's always something going on. And so, to be present for that and to be of service on, any sort of regular basis is really not only, it's a gift to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I can relate to, that line you were talking about, about basically you're coming for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I can get myself, up against a wall and there's nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, is really an illusion, a delusion, I'm not sure, but that's what it feels like, right? Mm-hmm. And it feels very real. Mm-hmm. And I think particularly when you are wired differently, like literally, like you've said, you're literally wired differently. I am too. I grew up, neurodivergent myself, so I'm literally wired differently. And for those who might be listening who aren't, I don't know if that's even true. We're all just wired differently, right? And I think it's a little bit of a cultural illusion that we've bought into.
Oh my God, yeah.
That anyone is quote unquote normal, right? We all have our things. We all have our stuff. And so, one of the things that I know about you, because you just shared it here too, is, there have been times when you've struggled with that, when things have gotten, dark. And I think what has been so inspirational about you is that, get choked up, people, is that like you have you've sometimes probably had to dig really fucking deep to get to that diamond that's inside. And so, I mean, can you tell us a little bit about that? You don't have to go into details, but like how, because so many times as human beings, like we can go to really dark places and you've been there and come out. So like, how did that happen?
Man, God, which time? Yeah, I have. There is a part of me, there is a core belief that that feels like I don't belong here. And that I don't know where it can, I have a wonderful family. I grew up safe and loved and all of those things, but there's something off in me that just feels like this world is too big and my emotions are too big, and it would just be better if I wasn't here, because I just don't know how to do it. And and I honestly, like, the first time that I really dealt with that darkness, it was my mom. My mom, I love and adore her so much, and she's such a wonderful person. And she, she came from, a fairly abusive family, emotionally, and physically, with her older brother. And she chose to be different. She geographically moved away and chose to have a different life and to provide for her children differently. And I couldn't do that to her.
Yeah.
So, I remember one time I guess it was my early 20s, I was out of college, and I was going through a really rough breakup, and I was devastated, and I was in this period where like I hadn't eaten for a long time, and I was drinking a lot, and my mom drove like almost an hour to come sit with me and hold my hand while I cried, because she was worried about me, and loves, just that unconditional love. And
right.
so being granted that from the unconditional love from my family, and and my current husband too, there is absolutely something to be said for being willing to even start to look at what it looks like to come out of darkness, when there is someone there with their hand out who says, I love you no matter what.
Yeah.
Even if, like not even if, just I love you no matter what. There's no strings attached, and in my mind, I'm like, even if I've done this, even if I've done that, I mean, I've got scars to prove, all of the places that my mind has been. And I've had people in my life who have just been like, I'm here no matter what, just grab my hand.
Yeah.
And so, that has given me the opportunity to shift my perspective. And that's why this work with Brown Hope and the Solidarity Squad and mutual aid to me is so important to me, because I can't solve the world's problems, but I can stick my hand out and say, no matter what you've been through or done, or whoever you are, wherever you are, just grab my hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered your question, but
it did. And it's such a beautiful way to, I don't know, end that piece of our conversation. But, wow. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, for fun, we're going to switch that up a little bit.
180.
For fun, well, maybe just end on a couple of things. And I did not, give these questions to you, any of these questions to you ahead of time. One of the things, just to give some background, I always say that, like, I had like this musician when I was a teenager who like saved my life. Is David Bowie. He saved my life. And he doesn't know it, he never knew it, but he did. So was there anyone, any musician, any song, or anything throughout your whole life that is either like an anthem or like kind of like quote unquote saved your life in the moment?
Yeah, there's two. Oh my God, there's two. Storm Large, if you're out there, oh my God, I love you.
Who doesn't?
I know.
God. For you non-Portlanders, I hope you discover her. Yeah. She's amazing.
Yeah. I was a fan before America's Got Talent. So I just need to say that. And then also, I love my husband, and I would, he knows that I would marry her if she'd say yes. So there's that.
Free pass.
Totally. Yeah. No, she, and it's so funny because it's this song that she wrote that is, like tongue in cheek, the 8 Miles Wide the Vagina song, right? And, but there's this line in there, everyone tells me I'm too much, maybe it's just you're not enough for me.
Ooh,
can't you see
that.
I'm the kind of woman I'm supposed to be.
Love it.
And, and I mean, even my posture, I've got awful posture because my whole life I have tried to shrink and fit to what I thought I was supposed to be. And my emotions are really big, and I have always been told that they're too much. And what I have found is that when I turn those emotions into action, I can make a fucking difference.
Yeah.
Like, and so that line over and over in my head, I can't even tell you how many times that has come into my head over the course of, since I heard it, 10 or probably it's been 12 at least years, I think, since she wrote that, about that. But, and then also, the UK band James.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So they have a concert live at Manchester from 2001. And if you ever come over and I'm by myself, that's what's playing. Like it's on, I have it on blast, and I love the dancing. I love every single song. I could, from start to finish, I can say it and sing it along with them. But there's a song in there too that's one of the lines is help comes when you need it most. There's more, and now I lost it because that's what happens.
Of course,
when I'm trying to talk about something important. Yeah, and I'm still thinking about Storm Large. So
I'm impressed that you remember any words
right.
to any song.
And it's just it's this song about like essentially like we manufacture our own misery.
Yeah,
help is available.
Right.
And fucking let go, and that to me is like the gist of that song. And and also, man, Mark, I'm sorry, he's third place, dude, because I'd also like Tim Booth. Tim Booth, I'm a big fan. I'm a huge fan. And so I don't know, maybe we can start a commune, but for now, just their words and their shows and their presence on this earth is enough to sustain that.
Right.
It's so like, yeah, music is so important. I can't play it for shit, but I can listen to it like nobody's business.
I know, I'm the same way. You don't want to ever hear me sing. Not even happy birthday.
Right, no.
Okay, that's awesome. So next question is just currently.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite show?
Oh my God. Schitt's Creek.
Oh my God! Yay! I'm so glad that you say that.
I heard so much about it, and I was just like, no, because I didn't watch The Sopranos until like years after it had gone. It was done, right? Because I don't want to ride the wave of whatever's cool right now, and it's the Portlander in me, and oh my God, I started watching that. I started watching it because, the truth is I watch the Golden Girls. Like, that's all.
Yes.
If the TV's on, I watch the Golden Girls, and it's habitual and it's familiar from my childhood and everything. Totally. Yeah. Absolutely. And then, but I told myself to expand my horizons a little bit, and I turned it on a couple months ago. I watched it and, the whole thing in very short order. And that show, what I love so much about it is that there is so much love and humanity in it, and it doesn't have to like overcome. It doesn't, with David, being who he is, there's, and then marrying his partner at the end. It's not like this, oh, they had to overcome this thing in this small, it just is.
Yeah.
It just exists. And it's so fucking wonderful.
I cried.
Yeah.
I was so sad at the end because I didn't want it to be over.
Me either.
I didn't want it to be over. They felt like family.
Yeah.
And it's just great. My husband thinks I'm crazy for loving that show.
Oh, no, it's fantastic.
It is. I just love it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad we connected on that.
Yeah.
All right. Ready for the final question?
Yes.
Woo! If you could go back, your adult Monica self, and give your, I don't know, your teenage self, your 5-year-old self, whoever, the very advice or the knowledge that child needed at that time, what do you think it would be?
Man, this is not like this is not, I don't say it to be trite, or it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't do things as a kid and a teenager and a young adult because I never thought it was going to turn out okay. Like I couldn't, get a coffee and, dear God, if it's not the right one, say anything, right? I couldn't get up in a restaurant and go to the bathroom because I thought everyone was looking at me. I missed so many classes in college because I was running late, and I would not walk in the door with people looking at me because I had so much anxiety and so much, so much weight put onto and value put onto what I thought other people were thinking, and it has every single time, right? I have survived 100% of all of those times.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not pretty, and I've done some embarrassing stuff, and it turns out that it's okay.
Yeah. Like
it really is. It's just okay, and it has all worked out. And if I had known that earlier, it doesn't. I don't need promises of everything. Arriving somewhere and having everything be a certain way. I just know now that it's okay, and if I'd known that earlier, that would have been useful.
Yeah, yeah. Everything's going to be okay. I love that. Well, I want to thank you for being here, being my friend.
Of course.
And where can, if people want, if they hear this and they want to take some action with Brown Hope, what do they do? Where do they find it? Do we just Google Brown Hope? What do we do?
Yeah. It's brownhope.org. And then there's a menu and all of the different ways that you can participate. The Solidarity Squad. There's Power Hour. They have a lot of different things that organization does. Incredible people, incredible mission, please Google Brown Hope and Solidarity Squad. We need all the help we can get. It is amazing to be down there and to see the people come in, and the community and the love and that unconditional love is, Portland's Black community is amazing. They have got each other and are, doing things with or without our help. And our being like, me, white person sitting over here, thinking that I'm saving them. Fuck no, I'm not. I am. It is a privilege to be a part of it and to watch the unconditional love that pours out of that organization. It's amazing.
That's awesome. Okay, everybody, go to brownhope.org. Go help. They need it. They want it. They know how to do it.
Yep.
So thanks, Monica.
Yeah, thank you.
See you soon.
Okay.
Hey everybody, it's Melissa, and I'm wondering if you all can relate. Have you ever caught yourself procrastinating or maybe doubting your abilities, or maybe you have a black belt inner critic like I do or have had that wants to sabotage your every move with judgment and perfectionism expectations? It might keep you stuck, it might keep you anxious and away from your full potential. The Positive Intelligence Program, PQ, is a powerful 6-week journey designed to help you quiet those saboteurs, embrace positivity, and find flow in your life. Through daily practices and weekly focuses, we'll work together to build your mental fitness. The PQ app will guide you every step of the way and support you, and you'll be supported either by myself in a one-on-one or in a small group of like-minded individuals where you can share insights and progress. So reach out, contact me at info@thefullymindful.com to find out how we can work together one-on-one or in a small group today.